What's up, Bassmasters? So it's Jazz here from the bassmastermind.com, and this is not going to be a normal YouTube video today, as you can kind of see. So just make sure to watch this quick 60-second intro that I've recorded on my phone here before we dive into the masterclass. First things first, I want to give you something very special today, and I wasn't actually sure, if I'm honest, if I wanted to post this on my YouTube channel. But one of my goals is to make this YouTube channel one of the best resources for bass players by trying to break down these kind of complex harmonic, maybe rhythmic or melodic concepts and make them simple and easy to understand and put them into lessons and masterclasses like this one. So this masterclass is called Understanding Minor Harmony. We'll be looking at some pretty cool music theory stuff, harmonic minor, melodic minor scales, all of that kind of cool stuff. But before you dive in, I just want to let you know that I've also created a full PDF workbook that comes with this masterclass, which will help you understand what I'm actually talking about in the video. This masterclass has some of my best material and I really don't want you to miss out. So if you are short on time, click the link below and you can actually join a free community called the Bassmaster Community, where you'll find the downloadable PDF so you can make notes, you're able to digest this information, and then you're actually able to apply it to your bass playing and to your practice routine and refer back to it in the future. There's also more masterclasses, online courses, bass resources, drum loops, all of that kind of cool stuff in the community as well, and it's all completely free. So you can go to the bassmastermind.com/group or click the link below. I think there's 1,000 bass players in there now. Make sure to subscribe as well to the channel. It's free and you can always just change your mind in the future. So with all of that being said, let's dive into the masterclass and I hope you enjoy.
Hey, what's going on? It's Jazz here from the bassmastermind.com, and in today's masterclass we're going to look at how we can understand minor harmony, minor chord progressions, the different types of minor scales. And this is kind of a common question I get asked a lot by students. They can already play their major scales, they can maybe even understand the modes of the major scale, but when it comes to minor harmony, you'll see in a sec, it gets a little bit more confusing. So I would definitely say this masterclass is a little bit more advanced harmonically, but it's going to be very useful, and I'll show you what's coming up. So we're going to look at the 3 types of minor scales. Yeah, there are 3 different types of minor scales. We're going to look at how to analyze minor chord progressions, and we're also going to look at how to use the number system, or some people refer to it as the Nashville number system. But we're going to look at how we can use that in minor keys, because generally the Nashville number system is used in major keys, but we can actually use the Nashville number system in minor keys using the 3 types of minor scales we're going to look at today. So normally the first question I get asked is, wait, Jazz, there are 3 minor scales? I thought there was only 1. If you've studied bass for maybe a couple of years, you've probably learned your basic major scale, and you've probably learned the minor scale. The crazy thing is that's only one of the 3 types of minor scales. So let's take a look at the 3 types of minor scales, as that's the first thing we're going to look at today. So the minor scale that's the most popular, and the one that you've probably played and heard the most, is called the natural minor scale, and that's the one I just played. So if we take C, natural minor scale, we have a C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, and then the octave C. And that's called the C natural minor scale. You can obviously apply this technique to any key, so E flat natural minor scale. That's what it sounds like, but let's just stick to C just for now. So the second type of minor scale is the harmonic minor scale. And I'm going to go into more detail throughout this masterclass and break down each one, but I'm just going to quickly play it for you now so you can kind of get the sound in your ear as we go through this masterclass. So here's what the harmonic minor scale sounds like. So it sounds pretty similar to the natural minor scale. So you've got a C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, and then here's where it changes. So you've got the A flat, and then it goes to the major 7 in C. This is a B. That interval is a little bit weird. It's actually a minor third interval, and that's why the harmonic minor scale sounds a little bit strange, but that's the harmonic minor scale. So it's kind of like the natural minor scale, but with a major 7 there. And then the final minor scale that we're going to look at today is the melodic minor scale. And this is what the melodic minor scale sounds like. You could think of this scale as the major scale, but with a minor third. So if we play our C major scale, but instead of playing the major third, we play the minor third. So we've got C, D, E flat, F, G, A, B, C. And that is the melodic minor scale. Now we are going to go in more depth and really break this all down step by step. So don't worry just now, just kind of get those sounds in your head, and just the main thing to understand at the start of this masterclass is there are 3 types of minor scales. The natural minor scale, which is the most popular and the one that you've probably played up till now. The harmonic minor scale, which is like the natural minor scale but with a major 7, and the melodic minor scale, which is kind of like the major scale with a minor third. So this is where minor chord progressions get very interesting. Because there are 3 minor scales, the opportunities for chord building and creating different types of chord progressions are far greater than the major scale. So with the major scale, there's only 1. So we can create different chords based off the major scale, which you probably, if you're watching this masterclass, you probably understand major harmony. So just taking diatonic chords going up the scale. So we've got C major, D minor, and so on. And then we got that diminished one. So we can kind of take diatonic chords from each note of the scale in major harmony. But the thing with minor harmony, and why it's a lot more, I guess, interesting and maybe a little bit more complicated, is because you can create diatonic chords from those 3 types of minor scales. That means there are a lot more opportunities for creating some interesting chord progressions. So let's look at the 3 minor scales in a lot more detail. So we're going to go back to the number system. Some people again refer to this as the Nashville number system, but we're going to use this method but in minor keys. So instead of doing the Nashville number system using the major scale, we're actually going to start today with the natural minor scale, and we're going to use the Nashville number system with each of the 3 minor scales. So generally today I'm going to stick to A minor, just because there are no sharps and no flats when we look at the A natural minor scale, or the key of A minor. So let's just keep things nice and simple. We have the A natural minor scale on the screen here. So we have an A as the first note, a B as the second note, C, D, E, F, G, and then we can add that octave at the top. So when it comes to creating chord progressions in minor keys, we're kind of going to do the same thing as we've done with the major scale. We're going to stack diatonic chords on top of the 3 different types of minor scales. We're going to start with the natural minor scale, and they're going to move to the harmonic minor scale, and then the melodic minor scale. So this A natural minor scale we have on the screen, we're going to stack a triad chord on top of each note of this scale, and then label each chord to a number. So here are all the diatonic chords using the A natural minor scale. So under the lines of the stave, you can see the Roman numerals, and they just represent what degree of the scale we're on. So first Roman numeral, and in this key we have an A minor. Second Roman numeral, B, C, D, E, F, G. And all we've done is stack a diatonic triad chord on top of each note of the scale. So the first chord is fairly easy. It's just an A minor. So you can play an A, C, E. It's just a simple A minor chord, nice and easy. That's the first chord. Now the second chord slightly changes, and this is actually a B diminished triad. So we have a B, D, F, and then the third chord is a nice major chord, just C, E, G. Fourth chord is a D minor chord in this key. So we have a D, F, A, and then the 5 chord. Now the 5 chord we're going to talk about a little bit more. So if we're using the natural minor scale, the 5 chord is just a minor chord. That's an E, G, B. The 6th chord is major, F, A, C. The 7 chord in using the natural minor scale is major as well, G, B, D. So here's where the number system just becomes so useful. So if someone said, could you play a 1, 4, 5 in the key of A minor? So all we would do is take the A minor, which is the 1 chord, the 4 chord is a D minor, and the 5 chord is a E minor. So now, if you're in the key of A minor and someone said play a 1, 4, 5 in the key of A minor, you can just simply play. So that's the A minor chord, and then you have the D minor chord, which is the 4, 5 chord. You've got the E minor chord, and then maybe go back to the 1. So it's just like using the natural number system in a major key, but instead of using the major scale, we're using the natural minor scale. So you can kind of see how useful this system can be. If you don't know the song and a musician turns around and says, hey, this song is in A minor, it uses the 1, 4, 5 chord progression, and then you've pretty much got the song just from that one sentence. So really useful. So let's figure out this chord progression together. We're going to break it down into 4 steps. So step 1 is actually just to figure out what key you're in. There are 2 sharps, which means we could be in D major, but after looking at the first chord here, you can see the arrows pointing to a B minor. So D major, the relative minor is B minor, so we're in B minor. So step 2 is to use the number system to work out how each chord relates to the key of the song. So we're going to just use the natural minor scale and use the number system with the natural minor scale to figure out what these chords are and how they relate to the key of the song. So we know the key of the song is in B minor. So we have a 1 chord, that's the B. That's the B minor chord there, so that's the 1 chord. And then the next chord is a D. So how does D relate to B minor? Well, it's the 3 chord. It's the 1, 2, 3. It's the 3rd degree of the scale. And the 3rd degree of the scale using the natural minor scale and using the number system, that would mean that we have a D major. So that's the 3 chord. So how can we relate F sharp to B minor? Well, we can just use the B natural minor scale and count up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So here we have a 5 chord. And the 5 chord using the natural minor scale is a minor chord. So you have an F sharp minor. And then finally we have an E minor chord. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the 4 chord. And using the B natural minor scale, we have a minor chord. So we have B minor chord, 1 chord, D major chord, 3 chord, F sharp minor, which is the 5 chord, E minor, which is the 4 chord. I've just written a little example bass line here. Don't worry if you can't read music. I'll quickly play it to you. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And that would repeat. And at the end of this masterclass, I really want to show you how you can apply this to actually, playing bass and being able to play and analyze minor chords and minor chord progressions. So I would say the third step, if you really want to get inside the harmony and start creating actual bass lines instead of just playing the root. Obviously a great bass line could be the one I just played, but if we really want to create some interesting bass lines, let's play the arpeggio or the chord tones or the triad, just to really understand how the chord is constructed. So this is kind of, I guess, what the piano player or guitar player would be playing. If you were just playing the roots, they would be playing, all of that kind of cool stuff on top. But it's really helpful for us to understand this, not just understanding the bass line, but also understanding harmony, because then we can create more interesting bass lines. So step 3 is to play the arpeggio of each chord to get the sound of the chord progression in your ear, and so you'll know which notes really define each chord. So here we have, again, don't worry too much if you can't read music, just you can listen to the sound of my bass. So we have a B, D, F sharp, and then I'm putting the octave on top there. And then we have D, I'm just playing the triad or the arpeggio, F sharp, and then E, G, B, E. And now you can play the arpeggio and you really know which notes are defining the chord. The other notes of the scale, I guess you could say, are less important. These are the most important notes. So if you were going to create a bass line, you could create a bass line just based on these notes. So I don't know, something like that I just improvised is a little bit more interesting than just playing the roots. And then eventually step 4, to really understanding and analyzing minor chord progressions, or any chord progressions really, is to play the scale of each chord, so you know exactly which notes to play over each of the 4 chords here. So the arpeggio outlines the most important notes in the chord, and the scale gives you all the available pool of notes within that chord. So you can see everything is diatonic to the key of the song. So the key of the song is in B minor. So if you can play your B minor scale, you should be able to play all the scales you can see on the screen here. So B minor scale is B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And when I say B minor scale, I normally mean the natural minor scale. So let's quickly go through and play the scale of each of these chords. So we have B minor, I'm just using the natural minor scale, and then we have D major, nice and simple. Then we have F sharp minor, E minor. So the E minor is slightly different to the minor scale, but I'm essentially playing the scale derived from the key of the song. So the key of the song being B minor. I'm playing B minor scale, but starting on a B, and then I'm starting the B minor scale on a D, which just happens to be the major scale. And then I start B minor scale on an F sharp, and then I start the B minor scale from E, and that gives me the scale I can use over each of these chords. Now we've completely analyzed this song's chord progression by using these 4 steps we studied, and how it sounds, what notes you need to play, what are the most important notes on each one of these chords, and which notes really define the chord within this chord progression. So when figuring out bass lines or chords by ear, you can use a mixture of theory and ear training to really help you with this. So now we've looked at the natural minor scale and we've broken down a chord progression using the natural minor scale. Let's move on to the second minor scale that we're going to really look at today and analyze some chord progressions with. The second minor scale is the harmonic minor scale. It sounds a bit crazy and jazzy and complicated, but it's really not. So here is the harmonic minor scale. So let's just quickly refresh our brains and play the A natural minor scale. So that's the bottom scale that you can see on the screen. This one accidental here, which is circled in blue, is the raised seventh. And this is the note that really separates the harmonic minor scale from the natural minor scale. So here you can see the natural minor scale has a minor seventh. So in the key of A minor, we have a G. And the harmonic minor scale has a major seventh. So in the key of A minor, we have a G sharp. So let me just play both of these scales. So let me start with the harmonic minor scale this time. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G sharp, A. And then the natural minor scale. So just like we did with the major scale and natural minor scale using the number system, we can also build diatonic chords on any one of the notes in the harmonic minor scale. Simply add a third and fifth above the note to form a triad. So I'm applying that G sharp now, and that kind of changes some of the chords. As you can see, we have some different types of chords than we did with the natural minor scale. And this is really where minor chord progressions get a little bit more complicated, but like quite interesting as well. And you can start creating different sounds depending on which minor scale that you're using. So here are all the chords built on the A harmonic minor scale. We've assigned each of the 7 notes of the scale to a chord, and we obviously have the Roman numerals below the chord as well. Some of these chords have changed, as you can see, from our previous natural minor scale, and that's all because of that raised seventh. So that one note has changed, I think, 3 of the chords here. So the first chord is exactly the same. We have an A minor. So we're just playing an A minor triad there, nice and simple. The second chord is exactly the same as the natural minor scale. We have a B diminished. Now the third chord is changed, and that little plus symbol actually means augmented. So we need to play an augmented triad, and all that means is if we play a major triad, so C, E, G, but what we need to do with that 5th note, the G, we need to raise that 1 fret or sharpen it, and that actually creates an augmented triad. So C, E, G sharp. Bit of a weird sound. There's a couple of ways to do the fingering on that one as well. You can play 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger, or you can play 2nd finger, 1st finger, and then kind of reach with the 4th finger to the G sharp. So the 3rd chord, when using the harmonic minor scale and the number system, slightly changes. The 4th chord stays the same. The 5th chord, and this is actually really key here, this 5 chord becomes major. And we're going to talk more about the 5 chord later, but the 5 chord using the harmonic minor scale is E major. The 6th chord is just major. That one hasn't changed. And this is also quite an important one. The 7th chord using the harmonic minor scale is, or the A harmonic minor scale, is now a G sharp diminished. So we have G sharp, B, D. And that's really nice because it leads nicely up to the A minor. You've probably heard this sound quite a lot. Kind of resolves quite nicely. So yeah, here are really the 3 chords that have changed using the harmonic minor scale instead of the natural minor scale. Really the big reason why is just because of that G sharp. As you can see, all of these chords use a G, And using the harmonic minor scale, we need to make that a G sharp. So we're going to come back to the harmonic minor scale and how we can apply this to chord progressions. And we're going to break down chord progressions using the harmonic minor scale. But first, I just want to quickly look at the melodic minor scale, and then we've really covered all three scales, and then we can start applying this to real life situations like chord progressions and songs using minor keys and these three types of minor scales. So you'll see that the melodic minor scale has two accidentals. We have an F sharp and a G sharp using the A melodic minor scale. So let me just play the A melodic minor scale again so you can get the sound and get familiar with it. So we have an A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A. Now these two accidentals, the raised seventh and the raised sixth, or the sharpened seventh and the sharpened sixth, that's what really separates the melodic minor scale from the natural minor scale. So we're kind of just referring everything back to the natural minor scale. If you're watching this masterclass, you probably understand and have played the natural minor scale. So I want to relate it to something that you're already familiar with. So if I just played these two scales kind of together, just so you can hear the difference, we have an A natural minor scale. And then melodic minor scale. So it sounds a little bit different. When I hear the melodic minor scale, I don't think it's as crazy as the harmonic minor, but it does sound a little bit different. So by now you probably know what's coming. Just like we did with the major scale, the natural minor scale, and the harmonic minor scale, we can also build chords on any note of the melodic minor scale. So on the screen you can see we have the A melodic minor scale, and the G sharp and F sharp are present. So instead of the G and the F, which would be a natural minor scale, we have a G sharp and an F sharp. So this is really what's different. It's the raised seventh and raised sixth degree of the scale when you're playing a melodic minor scale. So now I'm taking the A melodic minor scale and I'm building diatonic chords built off the melodic minor scale. So we've assigned each one of the 7 notes a chord or a triad, and some of these chords, as you can see, have changed from our previous natural minor scale because of that raised seventh and sixth, the G sharp and the F sharp. So well, let's go through each one step by step. So we have an A minor, nothing's changed there. The second chord does change, and that's because of the F sharp. So we actually have a B minor. So B, D, F sharp, and then we have the C augmented again, so C, E, G sharp, that's the 3 chord. Then the 4 chord is a D major, we have D, F sharp, A. The 5 chord is major, so we have E, G sharp, B. Now the 6th chord has changed, as you can see, we have an F sharp diminished, so F sharp, A, C. And then we also have a G sharp diminished as well. G sharp, B, D. So here are all the chords that have changed when using the melodic minor scale instead of the natural minor scale. So it's basically all the chords apart from the first one. So this one is a little bit different to the natural minor scale. And really, these chords have changed from the previous natural minor scale, and it's just because of that raised 7th and raised 6th. And that F sharp and G sharp in the A melodic minor scale means that all of these diatonic chords change chord quality. Now, before I go on, if you're still with me, that's awesome, because I know this is a lot of information, and definitely just revisit this, because it didn't take me, half an hour, 40 minutes, however long this masterclass is, to absorb this information and be able to apply it. It took me a few years. The main thing to keep in mind, if you're going to take one thing away from this masterclass, is that there's only one major scale and there's 3 different types of minor scales. And this just creates endless kind of possibilities in minor keys, and it will allow you to be able to analyze any chord progression you come across. And all this theory will become a lot simpler once we actually start applying it. So let's look at some minor chord progressions, and hopefully some of this information will make a bit more sense. So let's just recap the 3 types of minor scales, and then we're going to dive into some chord progressions. So we have A natural minor scale, and then we have the A harmonic minor scale, and that's got the raised 7th. And then finally we have the melodic minor scale, and this is the A melodic minor scale with a raised 6th and raised 7th. So we can use the diatonic chords directly from each one of those 3 scales, and depending on which minor scale we use, we can actually create different chord progressions in minor keys. So for example, let's just break this down with one chord progression. So here we have a chord progression using the natural minor scale. This chord progression is a 1, 4, 5 in A minor. And I'm going to change the harmony depending on which minor scale we're using. So here's the A natural minor scale. We have a A minor chord. We have a D minor chord, which is the 4 chord. We have an E minor chord, which will be the 5 chord. And also, quick tip before I move on, whether you're in a major key or using any one of the minor scales or in a minor key, being able to identify chords 1, 4, and 5 is super important, because I reckon they come up the most. And just because there are countless chord progressions in all styles of music, from country to rock to pop, that use variations of these 3 types of chords. So 1, 4, and 5, the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. And that's exactly why I'm breaking this example down using just the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chords, because it does come up a lot. So let's look at this chord progression. I've kind of changed it slightly. You can see here the E minor chord has now become a major chord. So if we go back, we had an E minor chord, and that was based on the natural minor scale. And now I've changed things. We actually have an E major chord. And the reason why is because I'm using the harmonic minor scale instead of the natural minor scale to create this chord progression. So essentially, this is the chord progression using the harmonic minor scale. This chord progression is still a 1, 4, 5 in A minor, but the 5 chord is major instead of minor because of the G sharp or raised 7th in the harmonic minor scale. So here's how it sounds now. We have an A minor, which is still the 1 chord. The 4 chord is still D minor. And here's where it changes. We have a 5 chord. So instead of it being E minor, it actually becomes a major chord because of that raised 7th, which is a G sharp in this key. So we have E major. And what about if we make this chord progression different by using the melodic minor scale instead of the natural minor scale or the harmonic minor scale? And here's the chord progression using the melodic minor scale. So we now have the E minor. It was previously E minor using the natural minor scale. Now it's an E major. And also the D minor, the 4 chord, is a D major instead of D minor. So this chord progression is still a 1, 4, 5 in A minor, in the key of A minor. But the 4 and the 5 chord are major instead of minor because of the G sharp and the F sharp, which is the raised 7th and raised 6th in the melodic minor scale. So we're using the chord progression based off the melodic minor scale. So again, we have the 1 chord, that doesn't change. That's A minor. Then the 4 chord does change. So we now have a D major instead of minor. And then the 5 chord, E major. So depending on which minor scale we use, we can get different chord progressions. The key signatures are just the same. It's just the chord quality. The chord quality meaning, is the chord major or minor or diminished or augmented? That's the chord quality, and that's what changes. The 1-4-5 chord progression is exactly the same, whether it's natural minor, harmonic minor, or melodic minor. It's just the chord quality that changes. So this is the 1-4-5 chord progression in A minor using the natural minor scale. We have A minor, D minor, E minor. And then this is the 1-4-5 chord progression with the harmonic minor scale. So we have that raised seventh, the G sharp. So we have A minor, D minor, E major. And this is the 1-4-5 chord progression with the melodic minor scale with the raised sixth and the raised seventh. So we have A minor, D major, and then E major. So if we just take that chord progression from earlier, the A minor, the 1 chord, the D minor, the 4 chord, and the E minor, the 5 chord, that's using the natural minor scale. We've already figured out what key we're in, so that's like step 1, figure out what key you're in. So we're in A minor. And then step 2 is to use the number system, and then step 3 is to play the arpeggio or the triads, and just like I'm doing here, that's step 3. And then step 4 is actually to play the scale. And this way we can really start to identify the difference between the 3 scales and the chord qualities they create. And so you know exactly which notes to play on each of the chords. Step 1 and 2 are fairly simple, but step 3 is to play the arpeggio of each chord. So the arpeggio of each chord, just using this same 1-4-5 chord progression in A minor. Here we have the natural minor scale using the arpeggio of each chord, which is just step 3. So we have, I'm just adding the octave in there. So A, C, E, A, and then we have D minor, E minor, and that's the chord progression using the natural minor scale, and we're breaking it down, playing the arpeggio. This is step 3. And then you can do this with the harmonic minor scale. Sounds kind of cool. And then obviously you can do this with the melodic minor scale. I'm not playing this in time, but that's the gist really. So that is step 3. Once you've figured out what key you're in, and you've used the number system to figure out what the actual chord progression is. So we know that it's in A minor. We know this is a 1-4-5 chord progression. Now we really need to understand the chord quality. And the best way to do that, to understand, is the chord major, is the chord minor, is it augmented, is it diminished? The best way to do that is to play the arpeggio of each chord. And this is really step 3. So step 4 is to play the scale. Once you can play the arpeggio, you know the notes that really define the chord. Now we want to know all the notes within the chord and what notes we can play. So this is step 4. So here I'm using the natural minor scale over all the chords. So we know the key of the song is an A minor. So we're going to use the A natural minor scale. So, and then we're going to play the A natural minor scale starting on D. And then the A natural minor scale starting on E. Now you'll probably get some kind of crazy scales when you start doing this exercise and start applying step 4. Don't worry too much about it. Just understand that the key of the song, so we have A minor here, and the chords are based on the natural minor scale. So it's just really about understanding that the A natural minor scale will work over all of these chords. So don't worry too much about what the scale is. That kind of goes more into some advanced harmony with minor modes. So the modes of the harmonic minor scale, melodic minor scale, you don't need to know them just right now. So just play the scale. So if it's a natural minor scale, play that from the first note of the chord or the root of the chord. So that'd be D, and then E is there. So then you'll do the same, but just using the harmonic minor scale over all the chords. So here I'm just going to play the harmonic minor scale over all of the 3 chords. So we have A minor, D minor, and then E. It creates some really weird scales here, but it's just to get this kind of sound in your ear. So here's the melodic minor scale over all the chords. Right, so just to quickly recap again, when you're in a minor key, chords can be created directly from one of these three scales. So we have the natural minor scale, the harmonic minor scale, and melodic minor scale. So depending on which minor scale we use, we can create different chord progressions. So for you more advanced bass players out there who have understood everything so far, we're going to have a look at this bass line and start analyzing this bass line as it's in a different key, and we're going to break it down with the method I've taught you today. So after studying this bass line, we know that the song is in B minor and it uses the B natural minor scale. So you can see from the key signature we have two sharps. That means we're in B minor. So the tonic, or the first chord, is B minor. So the chord progression is a 1, then we have the 3, then we have the 5, then we have the 4. So it's a 1, 3, 5, 4 chord progression in the key of B minor. So 1, 3, 5. The ones circled in red are the same, the blue one is slightly different. It was an F sharp minor, now we've changed it to F sharp major. So which minor scale is this bass line now using? Well, the actual answer is the B natural minor scale and the B harmonic minor scale. So we're actually mixing them. So the chords that are circled in blue, or the chord that is circled in blue, is using the B harmonic minor scale. The chords circled in red are using the B natural minor scale. And that's because of this accidental here. So we have B minor, D major, and then instead of playing F sharp minor, which is derived from the B natural minor scale, we're actually playing F sharp major, which is derived from the B harmonic minor scale. And then we play E minor. And yes, you can use a combination of all three minor scales to create minor chord progressions. And this is really where chord progressions get very interesting. And the main thing really to bear in mind, or the main thing I would take away from this, if you feel a little bit overwhelmed, and the reason why I changed the 5 chord is because that is probably the most common alteration or change that happens in minor keys. You would think that the 5 chord in minor keys would be a minor chord quality, because it's derived from the natural minor scale, which is the most popular scale. But actually, when you're in minor keys, the 5 chord is more likely to be major than minor. So this chord progression you see on the screen is actually going to be more common than this chord progression. So this chord progression here is using the natural minor scale. But if I was going to make it more common, like a more popular way of playing this chord progression is actually to make the 5 chord, which in this case is F sharp, make that major. So when you're playing minor chord progressions, it's actually more common for the 5 chord to be major rather than minor. And that's a really quick little tip there, or a bonus tip that you can take away with you. So I told you I'd give you a bass master mission at the end of this masterclass. And your bass master mission is to transcribe a song in a minor key using the method I've taught you today. So you can use those 4 steps that I've taught you today to really go away and analyze, not just transcribe and play it by ear, but really analyze and get inside the harmony. Use the method I've taught you today and analyze that song. Make sure it's in a minor key, of course. Start applying the method that I've taught you today. Make sure to download all of these slides. You can download all the slides I've shown you today that you've seen on the screen. You can download them as a PDF down below this video. And you can also download some Bass Master manuscript paper, so you can start writing out all the chords just like I've done here. You can start using this manuscript paper, write the key signature in, write the chords on top, even write those 4 steps. So you can write slashes, or you can write the actual notes in if you can read and write music. And you can write the arpeggio, you can write the scales in, and just really start to get inside of minor harmony and understanding minor chord progressions and minor scales. So download the Bassmaster manuscript paper so you can start writing out all the chords, the songs in minor keys, and make sure to download the PDF of all these slides I've covered so you can start applying minor harmony, minor chord progressions into your practice routine. And then when you go to play songs in a minor key on a gig, even if you don't understand it fully, you'll start to recognize certain sounds and little tricks like, the 5 chord being major instead of minor and stuff like that. And your ear will just naturally over time get used to this sound, and you'll start being able to get inside minor harmony, minor chord progressions. And that's really the goal of this masterclass.